几朵，蝴蝶儿帮帮。
Hi everyone, do you know what is? I believe that many 70s to 80s Beijing local people have sung this song when they were catching dragonflies. However, as the dragonflies gradually disappeared, many Beijing local children no longer saw them outside, and the song became almost extinct with the disappearance of the dragonflies. So, our presentation is talk about the dragonflies. We are going to discuss a focus on protecting dragonflies in Beijing Primary School. Presentation consists of 6 parts: theme, target audiences, background, intended learning outcome, approaches, and proposal, and these parts are covered by Yinan Liu, Huixuan Sun, and Wen Cai respectively. I'm going to talk about the part 1, theme. Environmental pollution, ecological damage, and less awareness of protecting animals. Compared to past few years, dragonflies could rarely be seen in Beijing outdoors anymore, so we will use the example of the protecting dragonflies to educate our future generations on the importance of protecting animals, achieving the balance between nature and human, and conveying the concept of sustainable knowledge by understanding the process, significance, and activities. Turn to part 2, target audiences. We aim at 5 to 6 grades of primary school students in Beijing. The reason of choosing them because, firstly, students have basic knowledge. 5 to 6 grades in primary school have offered the subject of science, which related to protecting dragonflies and sustainability. Based on the compulsory primary science curriculum standards established by Chinese Education Ministry, the new version of the science curriculum includes life science and earth science, which equips pupils with essential knowledge. Secondly, pupils at primary school still have a strong curiosity about natural phenomena and have very strong enthusiasm for inquiry, and they prefer to participate in science activities such as observation, experimentation, and investigation.
Now, Part 3, Background. Beijing is located in a mid-latitude region with obvious temperate continental monsoon climate characteristics. There are over 200 rivers of different sizes and many mountains and trees within the city, giving it unique environmental advantages and making it home to many plants and animals. Wang 2007 recorded 659 species and subspecies in 154 genera of 19 families of dragonflies in China, of which more than 70 species can be found in Beijing. It can be said that Beijing is a dragonfly paradise. However, in recent years, many dragonfly species that were recorded as widespread and common in Beijing in the past have become difficult to find and restricted to only a few geographical areas. Scientific research shows that the reasons behind this situation are as follows. First, water pollution. Water is an important medium for dragonflies to reproduce. The polluted water makes dragonfly eggs unable to survive, thus causing the dragonfly population to plummet. Besides, wetlands such as rivers, lakes, streams, and ponds are the main habitat of dragonflies. The diversity of the plant species and the integrity of the community structure in the habitat are crucial to the survival of dragonflies. However, their situation is not optimistic. Like other aquatic insects, dragonflies are an important part of freshwater biomes and play a significant role in freshwater ecosystems. In addition, dragonflies can also bring many benefits to human production and life, such as catching pests, monitoring pollution, as well as ornamental, edible, and medicinal values. The conservation of dragonflies is therefore of great importance. As a megacity, Beijing is one of the fastest-growing cities in China. Since the 1990s, the permanent population of Beijing has grown at a rate of 350,000 per year, and since 2000 at a further 780,000 per year, undoubtedly bringing enormous pressure to the city. For instance, the shortage of various resources, environmental pollution, ecological damage, biodiversity reduction, and a series of problems. How to solve this problem scientifically is a challenge that Beijing needs to face. Development is an eternal theme for mankind. The idea and strategy of sustainable development is the way that people come up with to deal with development crisis. It can take into account both contemporary people and their descendants, so it's worth advocating. Sustainable development includes many contents, one of which is the harmonious coexistence between man and nature. Sustainability education is a training activity that prepares the educated with the qualities and competencies for sustainable development. The education of harmonious coexistence between man and nature is an important part of it. In developed countries, long-term environmental education is considered to be an effective method of raising environmental awareness among children. And in Beijing, the issue has also been taken seriously. In 2003, the Ministry of Education issued 2 guiding documents. Primary schools in Beijing have also actively responded to the requirements of national policies under the leadership of the government. However, up to now, there are still some problems. First of all, primary schools only offer 2 hours of special courses on environmental protection every semester, which is not enough. They prefer to incorporate these contents into the teaching process of traditional subjects. But in the general environment of exam-oriented education, it's difficult to guarantee the effect of doing so. Secondly, by conveying relevant information to students during the teaching process of traditional subjects, students are trapped in the classroom and lack opportunities to get in touch with nature. Thirdly, schools vary greatly from one another. Some schools, as pilot schools, will carry out a series of activities, such as taking students into nature or visiting ecological environment education bases, while others do not have such opportunities. Fourthly, little attention has been paid to the question of whether students' awareness has actually been raised. To be specific, there are not many relevant statistics, surveys, and studies with a long time span and a wide research scope. Finally, the scope of environmental education in Beijing is still relatively small, and is far from forming a good atmosphere of emphasizing environmental protection in the whole society. It can be seen that the harmonious coexistence between man and nature as the main concern of sustainable development hasn't received sufficient attention. The situation in the field of sustainable development as a whole is arguably even less positive. Sustainability education is almost blank in primary education in China. At this point, we should make more efforts to popularize the necessity of harmonious coexistence between human and nature to students, as this is something they are familiar with and easy to understand. Taking environmental education as a breakthrough, we can help students establish a sense of sustainability, and then gradually expand it to other aspects of sustainable development, such as society, culture, economy, and other fields, so as to pave the way for the subsequent sustainability education.
Let's go with part 4, intended learning outcomes. The first intended learning outcomes is knowledge value objectives. We want pupils are able to describe the characteristics of dragonflies and list effective measures to protect them, to learn how to identify and observe Beijing dragonflies, to be able to use survey methods to investigate the survival of Beijing dragonflies, to listen to lectures on science and learn about the knowledge of Beijing dragonflies from insect experts and other people in different fields. The second one is emotional and attitudinal value objectives, to enhance the attention and empathy for wildlife through activities such as observation, investigation on dragonflies in Beijing area, to pay attention to the Beijing dragonflies around us and contribute to the conservation of Beijing dragonflies and their habitats, deepen the understanding of wildlife and their habitat, develop students' awareness of animal protection and natural issues in their daily lives, and be able to participate actively in animal protection activities, develop a sustainable concept. The third one is aesthetic qualities objectives. Cultivating aesthetic qualities in the science classroom at primary level can effectively develop students' ability to appreciate the beauty of life, develop a sense of responsibility to protect life, experience the joy of the creativity, and cherish limited resources. The final one is intergenerational value objective, starting with the students and pursue a wider impact on those around students, including their relatives, through communication and activity with them. According to Wingersville, the most crucial aspect of learning within a community of practice is sharing, whereby people with common interests collaborate and exchange knowledge.
In this section, I will introduce the 3 sustainable teaching approaches used in the project, including interdisciplinary learning, inquiry-based learning, and a community of practice. Firstly, as our target audience is primary school students in grades 5 to 6 in Beijing, we wanted to enhance the interdisciplinary learning approach to improve this problem. As the education of primary school students in Beijing is mostly teacher-centered and does not have strong links between subjects. As Nolan stated, educational approaches are important because learning is highly collaborative, active, participatory, and learner-centered. Interdisciplinary learning is the mixing of different understandings from different disciplines. In this activity, we are planning an interdisciplinary approach to biodiversity conservation, factors affecting the decline of dragonfly population. The lecture will be given by an insect expert, a chemistry teacher, and a geography teacher, who will introduce the students to 3 aspects of dragonfly habits, the effect of pesticides, and the living conditions required by dragonflies. Of course, there are potential challenges to using this approach. Interdisciplinary learning is totally new to Chinese students, and as primary school students do not have a strong knowledge base in subjects such as the chemistry and geography. It can be difficult for students to accept the transitions from one subject to another, leading to an overload of cognition. In addition to this, it is not easy to bring together chemistry, geography teachers, and insect specialists. Furthermore, we use an inquiry-based learning approach where students conduct field trips to investigate the factors that influence the habitat of dragonflies. According to Sapples et al.'s The Whole Human Views, sustainability education should be a combination of head, hands, and heart. While Beijing's primary school students are rich in curriculum resources, most of them learning is classroom-based and lacks the opportunities for real-world connections. Inquiry-based learning is a guided approach to teaching and learning that helps to enrich students' knowledge outside of school. Students in our design will work in small groups to investigate the habitat of dragonflies in the park surrounding the school. as well as the factors in the park that are not conducive to dragonfly's life, and propose solutions based on this problem. The teacher should act as the facilitators in the process, setting some initial parameters and conditions for the students, who will be in charge of the entire activity. We will also encounter some challenges, for example, coordinations with the park management, as well as the need to obtain parental consent to go out on the field trips, and how to arrange for lessons to unfold in limited time. Finally, we will also use the community of practice teaching approach. Through social interactions and dialogue within a community, learning could be facilitated as well as the meaning construction. According to community of practice, community constructions could be facilitated whereas the people have identical motivation. Its activities will include face-to-face group discussion, online forum, and story collecting. Here are some of the activity proposals we have designed. This is a poem about summer written by Chinese poet Yang Wanli called Pond. The poem depicts a sweet image of dragonflies and a pond reflecting in silence. A common sense in the past, but rare for children to see today. The poem identifies one of the dragonfly's habitats, the pond. The first activity which we will plan to develop from this is the design of an inquiry-based learning studies on the ecology of dragonfly habitats. Inquiry-based learning is a guided teaching approach that helps students to connect with real life outside the school. According to angle and content, promoting students' productive disciplinary engagement should encompass the following features. Firstly, students should be prompted to problematize their learning. We will organize a small group field trip to parks near the school to learn about which environments are suitable for dragonflies and what potential threats the species faces. The project is scheduled to take 2 weeks, with 2 field trips per week, and the final group will submit a poster proposal. Secondly, to help students become expert in the field of investigation. To achieve this aim, the proposal poster will be reviewed and revised by the insect expert, geography, and chemistry teachers. Thirdly, the students will be able to consult with the people involved in the investigation process. Students will be assisted by teachers during the park visit, and accompanied by park staff, who can provide data on the use of pesticides and explain the design of the park. Finally, learners are given adequate resources to help them with their investigations. Before the field trips, students will engage in interdisciplinary learning about biodiversity conservation with the dragonflies. And during the trip, staff and teachers will be available to answer questions and provide expert advice in tutorial afterwards. Apart from that, according to the approach community of practice, we should establish a community to improve communication. It could be classmate, teacher, and family member. Firstly, we build up an offline communications group. Students could be divided into different groups. Each group needs to carry out a group discussion and design and board activities monthly. Meanwhile, group members also need to collect the story of dragonflies from their parents or grandparents, which stimulates the intergenerational communication. Secondly, we would establish an online forum for protecting dragonflies. Everyone could post their own ideas in this online forum. Teacher would be a facilitator, designer, and supervisor in this forum. Its contents include 3 parts, which are protecting story, protections discussion board, and science and protecting. This is our plan for protecting dragonflies in Beijing Primary School. Through this series of activity, students will be able to explore how to conserve dragonfly species and how to improve and build conservation measures that are suitable for dragonfly habitat.